A lot of developers are now using AI to generate code, which is bad because it has led to a lot more increase in the number of bugs which are getting shipped as well. There are about 2 times more bugs in a code or a PR generated by AI compared to a human developer. And there are a lot of reasons for this, which I want to talk about in this video, where I want to discuss about how you can improve this code generation that's happening and what are some things you have to understand about AI in general. Alright, so see how most people see AI right now, and if you are a developer, if you're seeing it like this, you should update yourself, is, you write the prompt, there is something magic which is going on, and then you just get some code output back, right? And this is sort of like a black box or something. This is something that you don't really know about. So you are not aware about what's going on here. Let's try to build a little bit of understanding into what exactly happens and why sometimes the code is great versus other times it's actually bad, right? So let's figure out what are the internal mechanics, right? So if we look at AI, this AI, whatever you're using, it's nothing but a model, first of all, right? And a model could be anything like Opus 4.5, it could be Minimax M2.1, it could be the Giga Potato that I talked about just a few days back, right? It could be anything, one of these models. And depending on the training and the size of the model and how well it is post-trained, pre-trained, and how it is optimized for coding, different models will have different benchmarks on how they perform. So first thing is that a lot of people actually end up for hard or for difficult tasks, they end up using models which are not intelligent. For example, Opus 4.5 is good. It's good at coding compared to, let's say, Sonnet, which is good compared to, let's say, GPT-3, right? So if we keep on doing this compared to GPT-2 and so on and so forth. So obviously, if you're writing a piece of code, which is a very simple function with GPT-3, it will be much worse than Opus 4.5. With that being said, obviously the cost implication also comes into picture because most intelligent models are not only expensive, but they're also slow. So it is a decision that you have to take on which model you should use. My preference is that for creating bug-free code, or at least something that you have more confidence in, you should use models which are more intelligent and expensive naturally. And the top 2 models in this category which are most expensive and intelligent right now for hard tasks are Opus and GPT. But it's not just this. There are a bunch of other things also around this. See, what you have to understand is even if you look at Opus or GPT or any of these models, most of these models are trained on public code, which, let's be honest, most of it is garbage, right? If you go on GitHub and if you open a random repository, you would find a code repo which is actually not good. There are, like, I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things, right? If you look at all the GitHub repositories, probably like less than 1%, 5%, I don't have the number, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in this range, would be actually good projects, good serious projects. The rest of the stuff is just all over the place. Just people have whatever. And I'm talking about pre-AI. I'm not even talking about post-AI world where people now have started vibe coding everything. Even in the pre-AI world, most code is actually garbage. When I say garbage, let me expand on this, what I mean. First of all, outdated code, right? Some sort of code or some sort of piece of code that's using, very old JavaScript syntax, let's say. Or it's using some practices that we have already deprecated, let's say 10 years back, right? So this is one problem. Second could be obviously insecure code, which is the most important aspect of vibe coding and that we are seeing these days is that people are just shipping anything which is, which could be insecure. Third is, of course, non-performant code, right? Something which can be, it works, sure, but it can be done better or it can be more performant, right? So this is sort of like the garbage thing. And of course, fourth category obviously is that doesn't work. The code that actually does not work at all and your LLM is just confident and it's just trained on it. So this is one of the primary reasons why your AI or why AI in general generates garbage code today or buggy code today, because it has been trained on this and it's extremely hard to differentiate these things from one another until and unless you don't have, it's a chicken egg problem, right? You need a model or you need some way which is itself like a smart enough way to label or categorize this code is good or bad in order to even train the model so that you'd feed it the right things. And of course, like, a lot of these things are also subjective. If you ask somebody who's a purist, who's like a very good developer, they would probably outright reject a lot of code, which might be, okay for a lot of other developers as a standard. The other thing is that because these AI models are trained on this outdated garbage code, all of this, they are also a huge fan of dependencies. I mean, I don't know if you have vibe coded anything, small, but if you vibe code like a to-do app or, you can just try it out. Like even if you go slightly out of basic things, it'll start to pull in all kinds of dependencies from NPM and here and there. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. It's fine. You should obviously use stuff which is already there and it's mature. But a lot of times it will just start pulling off dependencies when it does not need it, right? I've seen it more often than not. It will just start to create projects with tens of dependencies where you don't need those dependencies. You can just create like small functions. It will start to, add day.js, for example, for formatting time, where if you're just doing it once in a specific place, you can just use string manipulation by yourself, like with new date and all. And finally, another problem which is very serious is that I see is that AI is extremely confident. This is something that we have not seen before. It's an extremely good liar. It's very confident that this is the right code when it spits out, and until and unless you're able to point it out that, hey, this exact thing you have done is wrong, and then it'll just just back off completely and say you are absolutely right, and it'll proceed to just do whatever you said. But it's extremely confident in wrong answers. This is the most important or a most fatal flaw that we have with AI, is that it's not really, it doesn't say that, okay, I'm not really sure like how to do this. Let me ask maybe like a couple of more questions to you. It will do that. You might say that, hey Mehul, but this software does not work like this, that I've seen like it in plan mode, it will do like ask me questions, because all of that is pre-prompted into these models, that into these Claude Code or Open Code and all of that you're working on. If you look at their system prompt, you will see that they would have added in the prompt itself that ask user questions before you start doing this, that. There are some places where you might not need any questions at all, right? So anyway, the point is that a lot of answers that AI generates, it'll just say that this code will work or this is how you have to do it, but that is not the right approach or not the right way to do that. And again, this leads to bugs. It leads to things which are bad. Now, there are a few ways to solve this, right? There are a few ways to solve these problems that are there with these AI systems. And let's figure out how do you do that. Solving AI problems. Now, I can imagine a bunch of things over here. I would say, first of all, is having strong constraints in your code, right? You don't want your code or your code base to just allow anything. That is one of the most problematic ways of writing code. If somebody joins as a newcomer, or even like an AI model, if it's doing some changes, if it's just possible to do anything in your code base, then that naturally itself is a bad sign of the architecture of the code, right? What I mean by this is a few things. You should have, for example, set practices for linter type checker. Let's say if you're using, I don't know, like something which is like a backend in TypeScript and all. So you should have your own rules of what can and cannot be done. For example, AI a lot of times would love to use as any in TypeScript, or it will love to use this forbidden null assertion, which is like a ESLint rule. So you can disable all these things, and it will obviously catch the code as a it's sort of like a testing mechanism only. You should have architectural constraints, right? For example, if you're creating, I'm just giving you very random examples without getting too specific, but if you're doing something like you're creating functions or API endpoints for different REST API or whatever you have, if your architecture itself is something where you have to create a separate folder for all of them, that's great, because now whatever AI is doing is limited to only that one API endpoint, right? It cannot impact anything else outside of that folder if your architecture is built in that way. But that has to come from you. This architectural constraint has to be built by you. AI, I can promise you, would not be able to build it, because again, these are business specific requirements. These are something which are not off the shelf solutions available. You can look into TRPC, all of that. But as your business grows and matures, there would be a certain level of functionality and customization that you would need to implement internally in your systems. So you are the developer who has to implement this. Security constraints, for example, like I mentioned, sort of like architectural only, but if you are creating an API endpoint, the input and the output has to be sanitized with Zod every single time, and the schema has to be extremely strict. That is a security constraint that you can add. And if you do this obviously makes it much less of an AI problem, and it will make it much more of, AI will come up with a weird solution first. It will do it. It will not pass your constraints. It will keep on doing it in the loop until and unless it figures out. That is the way to, get good code. The other thing that you should have in mind is testing your code very, very strongly, right? And this includes a bunch of things. It includes obviously unit testing for just making sure, units of your code are working. It includes integrated testing for making sure that core features in your code base are working. And of course, to top it all off, end-to-end testing, which is, I would say, probably a very important part, especially if you are doing anything which is like consumer facing and exposed to a lot of consumers, because end-to-end testing is basically that you spin up a browser, you do all the workflows like a normal user would do, and then you would mark that test as done if the workflow is working. So you consider your whole code base as a black box. You just make the changes, you ask the AI to make the changes, and you can run E2E tests again to just figure out and see that, okay, it is not broken for the end user. And a great way to do end-to-end testing in an AI first world with just prompting is using TestSprite. So TestSprite is an AI agent agent that fixes your test, creates them, runs them, and gives you all the results in a single place. It runs inside your IDE using MCP servers, and it does exactly what I'm telling you on the end-to-end testing part, where it would spin up a browser in the cloud, it will connect to your local system via a tunnelback, it will run the test, and it will generate a comprehensive report for you. TestSprite is used by some of the biggest companies in the world like Uber and Accenture for doing this agent-based testing inside their code base. It's free to start and very convenient to use, so do check it out. The link is in the description and in the comments. Alright, so once you have the testing suite in place, you would be at least confident that your existing features would not break, right? The other thing that I have as a controversial opinion is that I would say that if you have AI generated code, then you should also have a human reviewer. I mean, you can have AI reviewers, that's fine. And a lot of times they actually catch very good things. But do this. If it is in your capacity to do this, you should have a human who's reviewing the code. You can use AI to generate the code, that's fine. You can verify it with, all the testing, E2E testing, TestSprite, all of that. But at the end of the day, also have a human reviewer who's reviewing, like an actual good developer, who's just checking and making sure that the code is good. It's an extremely hard problem for AI to generate great code all the time. It can generate great code for some things. It can generate great code for boilerplates and all. But for production heavy systems, which require no mistakes at all, you still need this human reviewer in the loop before you ship into production. If you're somebody who's just generating code right now, who's using AI, no human intervention for reviewing the code, and you are pushing it to production, it only means one of two things. First is either you are somebody who's running basically a product which not a lot of people use, nobody uses, except for you and a few more people, in that case, which is fine. Or second is that you are extremely reckless. If you are building a product which is used by businesses and customers, and you are just YOLOing the code inside your master branch, and it's building and it's getting deployed to customers without reviewing it, you are then extremely reckless, which is again something I would possibly say you should not do. So yeah, these were some initial thoughts about how you can use AI carefully as a developer in your current ecosystem and current work system. Suffice to say, AI is not going to replace you if you are a good developer and if you are deeply embedded into your business itself, because of the context that you have of the business itself. And AI can never get that context, at least not in its current state and form. These are great cars, these are great vehicles that can take you from one place to another, but you are the one still who is going from that one place to another to close the business deal or close whatever. Like, that is an analogy that you can draw, that these are just mediums to getting something done. They are not your replacement. It's not like that now instead of walking, if you can take a car, then the car itself is going to take your job, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one very soon.